You build it. He stands up. All the people are united together to say, God, we want your direction. We want your deliverance. We need your help. They're all united. And so Jehoshaphat stands up, and here's what he says to God. Here's his prayer. Now, before you look at it, don't change it yet, all right? What would your prayer be? They're coming against you. 3 nations. They're hours outside your border. What would be your prayer? Okay, God, you need to do something about this right now.
Yeah.
I need you to start asking questions. God, will you do this for me? It's not the way he starts. You can change it now. He says, Oh, Yahweh, Elohim of our fathers. He calls out on not just some God, not just some higher being. He knows this God. His name is Yahweh, I am. And he says, God, I know who you are. You are the God, the Elohim of our fathers. You are a God, aren't you? Who is in heaven? Now, he knows that's rhetorical. He's saying, God, aren't you the God of our fathers? Aren't you the great I am? Or aren't you the God who is in heaven? And the answer, of course, is a resounding, yeah, that's who I am. You see, what Jehoshaphat does is he doesn't start with his requests. He starts with an acknowledgement of who God is.
Yes, yes.
He says, God, I know there's some stuff coming. I'm afraid, I'm not going to lie. I need your help, I'm going to admit that. But God, before I start asking for any specifics, I want to spend a little time just acknowledging who you are.
Yes.
You're Yahweh, the great I am. You're a God of our fathers. You're the ruler in heaven. You rule over all kingdoms and all nations. God, I know there's 3 nations that are coming against us, but I know who really rules the nations. It's you, God. No kingdom is greater than your kingdom. No nation greater than your nation. And then he acknowledges, he says, God, I know who you are. You're a God of power. God, I'm going to acknowledge that you are a God of might. All power and all might, they're in your hand. All powerful. Uncontainable.
Yes.
He holds the stars in the sky and he knows them by name. He is amazing in power. He is amazing in might. What he's saying is, God, I know that this enemy is stronger than I am. I know that this battle is too great for me, but I know how great you are.
Yes.
I know that you are a God that is great in power and great in might, and you rule in heaven, and you're greater than any nation, greater than any kingdom. God, I'm just going to start off rehearsing who you are. Let me say to you, whatever you're going through right now, what you need to do is turn your attention to him and say, God, I'm going to take my eyes off my problems just for a minute, and I'm going to place them on you. And I'm going to start rehearsing what it is I say I believe. God, you are the great I am. You are the God of our fathers. You are God that is great in might and great in power, greater than any nation, greater than any kingdom, and nobody can stand up to you.
Yes.
Nobody can withstand you. They're coming against us. We can't stand. I'll admit that. But I know that if you're on our side,
Yeah.
God before me.
then nobody can come against you. Nobody can knock you off your feet.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, when they come against you, God, I know who you are. You can knock them off their feet. He starts rehearsing not only the character of God. See, this is why we've been going through this series, in case you wonder. What's the relevance of doing a series called Knowing God through his names? Because when you go through the difficulties of life, what you need to hang on to is him.
Yes, yes.
You need to know who he is. Why? Because it starts to create confidence. It starts to embolden your faith. And that's what happens. He says, God, I'm going to acknowledge who you are. And God, I'm going to acknowledge what you do. He says in verse 7, Oh God, did you not drive out the inhabitants of this land before your people Israel? God, don't I remember your faithfulness in the past? God, don't I remember that there was times in the past when people came against this land and you drove them out? God, did you give this land to your people forever. To the descendants of Abraham, your friend. You remember Abraham, don't you, God? He's your friend. And you promised that you were going to be faithful not only to him, but to his children and to generations that would come after him, and that you were going to be the one that fought on behalf of your people. And God, you've done it before. Let me tell you something. God is a God that has fought battles in the past. You can look through the scriptures, and you can find that there are people that God decided he was going to get on their side. And you can look back to that. You remember David, don't you? He came up just a shepherd boy against a giant. And he says, you know what? You come with your spears, and you come with your armor, and you come with all of your size and your power and your might. He says, but I come in the name of the God of Israel, the God whom you mock. You see, you can look back through scriptures and see that God is a God that fights on behalf of his people. But it's not just in the scriptures. You can look throughout church history and find that God is a God that fights on behalf. You don't even have to look to church history, look in your own life. Has God not been faithful in the past? Did he not deliver you? Did he not find you when you were lost and deliver you from sin? Was he not faithful to do that? Has God not provided for you in the past? When times when you didn't know where it was going to come from, but yet here you are. Still sitting here clothed and in your right mind, with energy and breath in your body in order to continue to go. Has God not been faithful in the past? You see, what he's doing is he's saying, God, I know who you are. You're great and you're mighty and you have all power in your hand. You're greater than any nation. You're greater than any kingdom. God, nobody can stand up to you. And God, you've been faithful in the past, and I believe you are a God who will remain faithful in the present battle that I'm going through. I'm telling you, and that leads to confidence. When you know who he is, when you know what he's done, it leads to a confidence even in the battle. See, the battle, it's interesting, the battle hasn't gone anywhere. They're closer than they ever were. They're, again, within hours now, coming up on the board. Nothing's changed, but something's starting to change in the person of Jehoshaphat and the people of Israel. And what has changed them from a place of fear to a place of confidence is nothing more than them reflecting on the person and work of God. Something starts to change. How do I know that? Verse 9 says, if calamity comes upon us, whether the sword of judgment or plague or famine, we will stand in your presence. God, it doesn't matter what comes our way, is what he's saying. Calamity comes our way, we will stand in your presence. Sword, judgment comes our way, plague comes our way, we will stand in your presence. Before this temple that bears your name, listen, and we will cry out to you in our distress, and listen, you might save us. God, you might do it. Not sure. If you don't come through, I guess I'll have to find my own way. No, because they focused in on the character and work of God, they come and says, it doesn't matter what comes my way. If calamity comes my way, if plague comes my way, no matter if hardship comes my way, no matter if persecution comes my way, no matter if financial crisis comes my way, no matter if marital difficulty comes my way, no matter if health issues arise in my life, no matter if friendships betray me, no matter what comes in my life, God, when the distress comes, I know what I'm